Hi, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of mindWATCH. We finally have a title now.
We're so excited.
I am Thomas.
And I am Dan.
And today's episode, we're going to be talking entirely about the breath.
Absolutely. I'm really excited, actually, about this topic because it was something that you and I have spoken about before. And I was kind of like, ooh, the breath. But can we talk an entire podcast about the breath? And
Absolutely.
We shall see.
I think you absolutely can, because the breath is honestly one of those things there we go pretty much basically our whole lives without being conscious of it. We don't really think much of breathing just because it's so mechanical in our bodies, but there's so many benefits to being consciously aware of breathing and the breath that we should definitely put out there for people to know about.
I think you're right. I do.
Yeah.
But before we do that, Thomas, how was your week?
It was pretty good, honestly. I was thinking about this the other day. For me personally, I can only speak for myself, but I know you and I have had conversations about this. This quarantine was actually a really good reset for me, in the sense that I've been consistently being active, exercising, eating better, and everything, and I've developed good habits. And I feel like this was something that was needed for me, to literally be locked in my house so I can develop good habits, so that when, God willing, this quarantine ends up soon and everything gets cleared up soon, that I will be able to continue these habits even after post-quarantine, post-COVID-19. So it's been just continuing my habits I've been feeling better in general. Like, I've had more energy. I'm happier. I've been meditating every single day. I'm on a 15-day streak now. So my week's been going pretty good. I've felt better. I've been more conscious of my breathing, and honestly just like a clearer head in general. So how about yourself?
No, I feel the same way. I've always done like meditations and stuff like for 20 years, but I've always had this idea of, I'm going to get a workout routine. I'm going to do more yoga. I'm going to do more, practiced meditation. And every time I start, something always happens. There's work or family, and there's always different responsibilities. And so I stop, right? That's our ego getting in the way, mm-hmm. right? Being in the front seat.
Right.
So I think the great thing about this quarantine, and again, if we're looking at something positive for why things are happening, is I've honestly been able, for the first time in my life, really hit a restart.
Yeah.
I have meditated for an hour a day now, almost for a month. Like every single day without a break. Mm-hmm. I have been exercising way more and working out than I've ever done.
Basically every day.
Every day. Yeah. I haven't even skipped a day. We are all in our house. We are all definitely eating better. How many times have you and I, and if this is your first mindWATCH podcast, Thomas is my son, but how many times have you and I spoken about meal planning, meal prep, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that we've actually been sitting down on Sundays and saying, okay, what are we having for dinner every single day this week? Because we only want to go out to the grocery store once a week. So to be able to do that, consistently do it, buy what we need, not wasting a lot, and eating healthy stuff has been awesome. I thank goodness, feel better, more energy.
And I honestly feel like my cooking skills have significantly improved.
Okay.
I've made some really fire dishes.
You have. For the podcast world, Thomas is a really good chef. If this whole acting thing doesn't work out, celebrity chef could be right up your alley.
Gordon Ramsay, hit me up.
Exactly.
No, but we also want to just put out there that this is our personal beliefs. Now, there are people who have been negatively impacted by this virus, but we're talking about how this positively impacted us, because we've been very grateful that you've been able to stay in work, and other members of our family have been able to stay in work and things like that. Like, we've been very fortunate, but, our thoughts and our positive energy goes out to those people who are really negatively impacted by this virus and this pandemic.
It's really true. There's a lot of people out there that are obviously more so than not. We read things on the internet constantly about people that are surviving and fighting the coronavirus, and people that aren't even fighting the disease, but they're fighting with all the after effects of the disease. And we know personally between family and friends where that's really, really happened. So I think the whole idea about mindfulness is that there's always ups and downs. And some of the downs are really incredibly difficult to see an up or to see a light.
Yeah.
And some of these skills are just to help in everyday life. It can, we're at some point the quarantine's going to end, and at some point life is going to get back to normal.
Right.
And honestly, I look forward to that.
Me too.
Because I look forward to continuing to practice this and infuse these things in our life and be more present about it.
Yeah, be more present and more consistent too.
Exactly. Which actually
It'll
does
make it easier.
It does.
Because we've been so consistent during the quarantine, it'll make it easier to be consistent after the quarantine.
And it's always good to have support. Like, Thomas is my accountability partner. I'm his accountability partner, along with his brother. But it is always good to have support. Like today, some of my nutritional drinks I didn't want to drink. And Thomas is like, is that ego talking? Yeah. And I'm like, gosh, it is. So it was just a great little reset. But I will say this. One of the things that we talk about even just now, a reset. The best reset for whatever it is that anyone's really going through or just day-to-day life is really the breath. Mm-hmm. And that's a kind of a great, cool segue into what our conversation is this week. But I have been fascinated with breath for really for a while. What is it? Why is it so important? And yes, breathing is breathing. It's taking oxygen in through your nose, your mouth, and going into your lungs, and all of the great chemical things that happen, and exhaling and helping the trees with carbon dioxide.
But it can mean so much more than that. Or it does mean so much more than that.
It does. And it's not just specifically breathing to keep us alive. Obviously, the most important, breathing to keep us alive. But there's so many different things and different benefits to breathing, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the greatest things that people don't even realize, meditative breathing or breathing like we're going to talk about today can help to lower your heart rate.
Yep.
By controlling the breath, we control the blood flow in our system, which can help bring down our heart rate.
Like Dan and I have an Apple Watch. I just got mine a couple weeks ago. He's had his for a couple months. And one of the cool things about this device that we were very fortunate to have is that it can actually track your BPM, your beats per minute. And we log in every single time we meditate, whether it be through our own meditations on our website, or we've also been doing Headspace, which is also a great app. It can track how much your heart rate lowers during your meditation. So it's a really cool little tool that we have that we've noticed, and it shows how much it lowers your heart rate, not to an alarming point, but to a relaxed, meditative state.
It does. And so heart rate, and you were talking about blood pressure. So all of those, are you can feel it. And for those that obviously aren't tracking their blood pressure or their heart rate, you can absolutely feel it.
Yes.
Like if you do a great meditation, we have so many great meditations on mindfulme.org, or you can go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts or Google Podcasts. Yeah, there's so many great places to find our incredible meditations. But if you do a meditation, no matter what kind it is, you can feel the difference between when you started the meditation and when you were finished. And that relaxed, more centered spot means your heart rate and your blood pressure are a little bit more under control. Mm-hmm. But it can help too with depression. It can help
improve your diabetic symptoms for diabetic patients as well.
It can. So let's look at three things: diabetic symptoms, depression, and chronic pain.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of people that have a lot of chronic physical pain out there, mm-hmm. and how breathing really helps that. So I want to kind of go into, Thomas, let's kind of shift a little bit into the science behind breathing. Yeah. Now, I am not a science major. I was a microbiology major for a year in college.
And then you realized you couldn't do math.
Yes. And then math came about, and I just realized that math and Dan don't really go hand in hand.
Not compatible.
No, not compatible at all. So I switched my major. But I do realize that there is such an important place with science and mindfulness, that people have been practicing mindfulness, especially in the Eastern cultures, for 10,000 years. And I know that people that grew up in the 60s, I'm not that old. But anyways, people there was like this revamp to kind of go and get these meditative type of skills, and it became more and more and more part of our pop culture until really over the past 10 years, science has kind of caught up with the mindful techniques.
Yeah.
And it's starting to prove the benefits of why all these people do these things, right? These meditative things. I know that when I was growing up in the 80s, if you did things like meditation, people were like, oh, you're just one of those earthy, crunchy people. And people would make fun of it. It had a bit of a stigma to it.
That was in the 70s, right?
Well, I am an 80s kid, but yes, but
the
idea,
hippies
yes.
and make love, not war.
Right.
Yeah.
But like when I went to University of Florida,
Ahead of their time.
Go Gators. When I was at UF, a lot of those people were called like the earthy, crunchy people. They'd wear the sandals and stuff. But
Peace signs and everything.
the idea here is that science has finally, in the past decade, really kind of caught up with what other people have been doing for so long. So let's look at why. And again, this is not going to be a science podcast. I don't want people freaking out like I'm going to be talking science. Guys, that is just not my alley.
We're definitely not scientists whatsoever.
No.
You can do the research.
Right.
That people have already done and like display it out there and cite them, but we're not a scientist whatsoever.
And so I am going to cite a scientist. Okay, the scientist's name is Dr. Michael Melanchuk.
No, Melnuchuk.
Melnuchuk.
There we go.
Michael Melnuchuk.
I'm so sorry if we butchered that.
Dr. Mike, well, not the Dr. Mike, but this Dr. Mike.
Yeah.
we are sorry, but Dr. Michael, we'll call him, so as not to confuse with Dr. Mike. But Dr. Mike is really cool if you want to follow him on Twitter or YouTube. Really awesome. But Dr. Michael Melunchuk, anyways, he is a genius. He discovered that there's this thing called a stress hormone, and that hormone is called noradrenaline. And what noradrenaline, I am really tongue-tied today. Oh my God. What noradrenaline does,
Enunciate.
Yes, enunciate, is it actually causes the heartbeat to beat faster under stress. So here's the thing. If you have too much noradrenaline, you are stressed. The idea is if you are really, really stressed, it's hard to focus. Your mind's going in 1,000 different places. Like, remember when you were back in college, right? And you would have, rehearsal, you'd have performances,
Auditions.
You'd have auditions, you'd have
Auditions were the
papers, you'd have all these things and all at once, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I remember you were like, oh my God, I just can't seem to like focus on one or another. And it is really hard for us because we start to kind of get that adrenaline rush, which we all know about. That means that there's too much noradrenaline within the system. So you're feeling stressed and your brain cannot focus. The opposite is if you've got too little noradrenaline, you feel sluggish, also not being able to focus. So when you're working with both of these drugs, those can have an effect on depression, and it can make people depressed.
And that's what creates a chemical imbalance, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, according to Dr. Michael. So what we want to look at scientifically here is how do we get the perfect amount? Because when you have the perfect amount, noradrenaline can cause new pathways in the brain. So if you've got somebody that is suffering from depression or chronic pain or stressed, it actually affects the neurology of your brain. Okay? Once there's brain damage, it's hard to repair. But noradrenaline has actually been shown that it can create new pathways within the brain. So if you have the right amount, you can actually do better.
So you're bringing balance to the Force is what you're saying.
Oh, gosh, yes. A Star Wars reference is always appreciated. We are bringing balance to the Force, and this
We're
is
on season 4 of Clone Wars.
So excited.
Anyways.
But, yes.
I digress.
So, colloquially, it's called the sweet spot, right? Where you have literally just enough. And according to Dr. Michael, according to Dr. Michael, a lot of what we do with breathing and meditation can help to regulate the noradrenaline within your system. So when we're lowering our heart rate and blood pressure, when we're helping with diabetes and depression and chronic pain and managing of stress, all of those benefits of breathing is scientifically backed up. So what are some of the things do you think that science has also shown about breathing, that it can bring great things to your body?
I mean, one of the most clear ones and one of the most, I think, obvious ones is relaxation. And I know, especially over the past 2 weeks or so, when I've been consistently meditating for about, on an average, on 10 to 15 minutes a day, I always notice that for at least a couple hours or so after I meditate, and the more consistent I do it, I just feel more relaxed. My body feels more relaxed. My head feels more clear. Now my goal is to essentially be at a relaxed state for longer than just a couple hours, but I think that's just part of the process. So, and another thing that science can also backs up that breathing can bring is also being enlightened.
Okay, so
that's
I love this word. I love the word enlightenment. Okay, I love it because you have some of the great masters out there like Buddha that calls, a certain phase enlightenment. You have to go through all these different steps to get there. So for all of our listeners, I don't want you to think like we're talking about enlightenment,
like you're not like a god or
right.
whatever.
Okay. Now, yes. Through mindful practices, we can all get there. It's all doable.
We can all be ethereal beings at some point.
Absolutely. But what we're talking about when it comes to enlightenment is to really understanding the things within your life that matter. It's getting perspective on the way your life is right now. And that doesn't mean that you're going to breathe and all of a sudden you're going to look at life and be like, oh my God, everything is perfect. I don't think everything is ever perfect in life.
You're going to run into some bumps in the road.
Right, but it's going to help you to see the balance in life. That's the enlightenment. When you're at perfect balance and you can see that and you can appreciate it, that's the enlightenment that we're talking about with proper breath.
Yeah. And the next thing is also, which I think kind of coincides with, or leading into relaxation, is letting go of negativity and negative thoughts. So I think we all, especially when we get under stress and everything, it's very easy to have a negative thought and just keep zeroing in on that negative thought. Now, one practice that we've been working on in meditations on negative thoughts is whenever you have a negative thought, note it and simply let it go. And that's a practice called noting, which you and I have been very hardly trying to practice. And
to give credit, that practice of noting was also done through Headspace. So, and it is, our meditations are great. Headspace is anywhere where you can get that. We have been at Mindful Me really kind of exploring with Headspace. Mm-hmm. It is a great app that we
also have a like. Easing negative thoughts meditation on our website as well.
I think
you did that one, right? Or was that me?
I don't remember.
It was one of us.
But the easing negative thoughts is a great one. Honestly, go take a look, go take a listen. But this idea of just kind of recognizing a negative thought and then letting it go. And how do you do that? Breathe, right? If I'm feeling negative or I'm feeling like, I'm not worthy of something and I kind of catch it and I just take a couple nice deep breaths and focus on my breath and focus on the moment at hand, I'm letting go of that negativity. And that's all just through taking a couple of minutes, not even a couple of seconds, moments, just to breathe and just to focus on that breath to ease that negative thought away.
One tip that kind of helps me with that is visualizing. So what I like to do sometimes is whenever I have a thought or a negative thought or like a conflicting emotion, what I do is I kind of see the thought as like a fish and I'm fishing. So if I catch the fish and the fish is the thought and I reel up the fish and I realize that that's a dirty fish and you can't eat that fish, you throw it back.
Exactly. And that's a great visualization.
I mean, and you can visualize it any way you want, but as long as you understand the concept, whatever works for you, honestly.
There's going to be a really cool thing about a type of breathing that involves visualization. It's called visualization breathing. And we're going to get to in just a little bit, and I'm going to use that visualization that you did about the dirty fish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I am. It's going to be great. And aren't you proud of me for not singing during letting go of negativity?
Oh, God, please.
Just saying.
Frozen will be... Oh, my gosh. Anyways.
Sven is part of Frozen, and really that's all that counts in life. If you have Sven, everything is awesome.
Anyways. So the next one... Anyways. The next
Let's go into inner peace, shall we?
Anyway, that's a good
Sven
segue.
Can bring inner peace.
That's a good... Yeah, you know, if you know who Sven is. If you don't know who Sven is, he's a character in the Frozen movie. If you don't know what Frozen is, you've been living under a rock. Anyways.
Frozen movies, which we can call Sven movie 1 and Sven movie 2.
We digress. So we're going to move on to inner peace, which can easily be mistaken for enlightenment as well, I feel like.
I do.
I feel like people look at those two phrases and be like, inner peace, enlightenment, are they the same thing? Yes and no, right? They're pretty similar. But I think to me the biggest difference between inner peace and enlightenment is that inner peace is really just finding literally inner peace with yourself and trying, like, letting go of negativity will literally lead to inner peace. Like, a lot of these things will lead to inner peace.
And I think that when you're dealing with enlightenment, that really, to me, is a balance, where everything is balanced. Good, bad, everything. Yeah. It's got its place and has its balance. With inner peace, it's actually like inner contentment.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and the word contentment has a negative connotation to it. Like, you know, you can't, if you're content with something, you're not necessarily happy with it. Mm-hmm. But really, if you think about the word contentment, it's not that you are just, I'm not really happy or complacent, right? Contentment means it's everything that you could want it to be. So I think when you're at inner peace, you're really looking at yourself and saying, you know what, right now I'm exactly content with who I am. Mm-hmm. And I'm content with what is around me. So I do believe, you know, that inner peace, like you said, is a little bit different than enlightenment. But again, there's always going to be some overlaps. Yeah. One of the things, too, with breathing, though, is you get to learn about your body. So whenever you start to meditate or whenever you breathe, if you're breathing, and we've said this before, and I know that we'll say it several times in this podcast, everything stops when you breathe. When you breathe, you're literally stopping the world. And breathing and focusing inward is a perfect way to see, is everything going on with my body? It's a good way to check in with your body, right? Breathe, look inside. And we've had that in a couple of our meditations on mindfulme.org, where we have gone in and we've looked inward. And what a great way to examine, scan, figure out what's going on. Maybe something's not right, but because you're breathing, you're stopping the world. Mm-hmm. So if you've been masking a physical ailment because you've just been going, and it's stressful this and blah, 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 taking time to stop and breathe helps you to focus on yourself and see, hey, emotionally and physically, is everything good? Let me just kind of check in a little bit.
Like an example for myself, whenever the past couple weeks, as I've been consistently meditating every day, something I noticed that when I just focus on the breathing for however many minutes it is within the meditation, I noticed that my shoulders drop significantly. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'm holding tension in my shoulders. So that's like some kind of awareness that was brought to my attention, especially when I started to meditate. And of course, you know, the years of Alexander training that I've also had. It's also more of like a reminder for myself.
I think that is probably one of the best examples that you've come up with. That is awesome. Yeah. Where, like, you know, you've noticed something because you've taken time to stop and you've taken time to check in. And you're noticing, you know what? I'm carrying a lot of stress on my shoulders. It's just something to be aware of, not freak out about or complain about, just something to be aware about. So there's this author, Mr. Kabat-Zinn, And he has a quote from one of his books that I think really reflects the theme of breath. He says, "The breath is the current connecting the body and the mind. It is the current of life." And Thomas and I were talking about this earlier, and he, noted the fact that air flows in currents, right? Mm-hmm. To me, when you breathe in air, it is the necessary oxygen that's needed to keep the heart pumping. And if the heart isn't pumping, the blood's not going through all of your veins and capillaries, and your body shuts down. It is literally life, is breath.
Yeah, I'm going to quote one of my professors. He made a joke one time during one of our movement for the actor classes, and he was like, "So, guys, what happens when you don't breathe?" And everyone's like, "What? You die." And we're like, "Oh, well, yeah, that's the obvious answer."
Yes, you do. That's why we said, like, even in the beginning of the podcast, hey, the thing about breath is, yeah, we all know what breathing is and why it's important. If we don't do it, we die. But I just think that's really neat, that it really is a current. So practicing breathing is a great way to keep your body functioning.
This is weird. I just got a notification on my Apple Watch to breathe.
See, even the mighty Apple realizes it is time to breathe.
And also that proves that our devices listen to our conversations anyways. Honestly,
Okay, that's another podcast. I cannot wait for that one. So let's talk, Thomas, then about some exercises we can do. Like, we know the fact that breathing is so important, so we've kind of gone through and we've looked at this thing scientifically, right? We've looked at the benefits to breathing as far as, like, heart rate and blood pressure and the like. We've looked at the science and some of the hormones behind it. We have also shown that breathing brings so many great things into our world. So let's start to breathe. Let's get some exercises, right? Sure. So let's talk about 3 exercises for breathing that I think are great. Morning, noon, and night, right? So we're going to talk about 1 in the morning, a breathing exercise to do in the afternoon, and 1 to do right before you go to bed. So I don't know, like, for any of you guys that have done any movement or dance or yoga, but there's this thing called the ragdoll. So if you think of, like, Raggedy Ann and Andy, if you are in the morning, you wake up and you just bend forward from the waist, right? So the waist is bent and your head is facing down. Now, the idea is that this morning breathing is going to relieve a lot of your stiff muscles and clear out the lungs, all from your, hopefully, 8 hours of really good sleep. So if you just keep yourself bent at the waist, keep the knees slightly bent, and your arms are just kind of like dangling, like rags, right? Like a rag doll. Inhale very slowly into the body and very deep. Your stomach's going to expand. Slowly roll your body up. Like, literally make it kind of like your spine is reconnecting itself 1 joint at a time. Yeah. And you are physically coming up slowly, lifting your abdomen and your chest, then your shoulders and your head. So your head is the last thing to come up straight. And you should be completely exhaled by that time. Mm-hmm. It is a great way to start your day. It's a great way to get your body moving in a very gentle, peaceful way.
And my voice for the actor classes, back when I was in college, I say back when I was in college like I did it years ago, but I literally just graduated in December. Anyways, Yay. I'm not that old, I promise.
And you graduated cum laude.
I did graduate cum laude.
Very proud dad here. Very proud dad.
Smarty pants. Anyways, yes. No, that exact exercise is something that we would do in our voice for the actor class. And I noticed every single time I did it, it always just feel like everything is open, especially within your body, and you feel like you're taking more clear, deep breaths. And it's a really nice exercise. It gets you ready for the day.
And it's something I'm at the high school that I work at. I'm also the musical director. It's one of those exercises I do with my students before doing an acting exercise or before going out on stage. It is just a great way to kind of reset everything. And once you've spent the night sleeping, you get up, you do that. It kind of brings the body back into alignment. So do you want to talk about the midday breathing?
All right, yeah. So the midday breathing, you can do this around maybe like the afternoon, right?
Yeah,
maybe
anywhere
like
in the
after lunch,
afternoon.
anywhere
Sure.
between the afternoon.
Anytime you're feeling a little sluggish.
Anytime you're feeling a little bit sluggish. So this is where, as before, you're breathing in a little slower. This time you want to do some rapid breathing. And so the rapid breathing is going to happen in and out of your in and out of your nose 3 times within a short time. So I can do an example for you if you want.
Okay, let's do an example. Listen.
This is really awkward, so.
Perfect.
That's literally it. And you
That's
do that,
it.
what, 3 times?
You can do that 3 times. You can do that just for a short time period. What it's doing is it's bringing a quick amount of oxygen into your lungs and into your brain to kind of get things going. You know, that afternoon where, oh, I need another cup of coffee or I need a little bit of chocolate, which we really don't because there's other ways to bring energy back in. Start your day off with a great mindfulme.org meditation. It'll keep you going throughout the day. But do a quick breathing thing like Thomas had just shown so awesomely.
I felt the oxygen go straight to my brain.
Right? Straight to your brain. And let me tell you, you are up.
It's like a healthy drug.
It is.
It's natural too. So.
It is. So then we got a one right before going to bed. All right? This is one that is called, and a lot of people call it this. We've seen it in a lot of different publications. But it is, for those of you that have heard of it, it's called the 4-7-8 breath. So, easy. Sit down when you get, right before going to bed. You can lay down, but I recommend you sitting either on a chair or sitting on the floor with your back straight. And inhale through your nose, okay, for a count of 4. So as you inhale through your nose, just gently count 1, 2, 3, 4. Your stomach is going to expand. It's a nice, healthy breath. And you're going to hold that breath for 7 counts. So, you know, that 1, 2, 3.
You can count Mississippi if you want.
Yes, Mississippi or Mississippi.
I say Mississippi. That's not a word, but I say it.
I like the word, though. We should make it a word.
It works for me.
Let's market the word. So you're going to hold that for 7 Mississippis, and then you're going to exhale through your mouth and exhale through your mouth. Like, let's hear yourself exhale for 8 counts. So you're going to inhale for 4 counts, hold it for 7 counts, exhale for 8 counts. And you will be ready to go to bed. Great way to relax. Great way to let the body know that it is time to start the shutting down process for sleep.
Right. And these 3 exercises throughout the day literally take less than like 2 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you can absolutely find time to do this. Like,
especially when people are like, I'm so busy. Not for this.
You could literally do it at work. Like, I don't know about the... I don't know, I was going to make a joke. I probably shouldn't.
Your inner self is telling you that. Your higher self just sent you a message.
Yeah.
So
not appropriate for this podcast. But
there you go. So, well, I mean, that's great. Again, those are 3 really easy exercises that you can do. And as we're talking about breath, and Thomas had mentioned this idea about when he sees something negative in his life, that he kind of catches this fish in his head. It's a dirty fish. We throw it back and you're throwing away the negativity. That is called visualization breathing. So there are many different types of breathing. So let's start with the visualization breathing. So imagine that if you just want to breathe. And the idea, again, we've said this, let's keep refocusing ourselves. When you breathe, you stop the world. You stop the past, you stop the future, and you are only focused on the present. Right here to be more present, to be more with it in the moment. So if your mind wanders and it's wandering into something negative, or it's wandering just to wander, or you're focusing on potential futures and you're daydreaming, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's always a place for it.
It's part of the process.
But sometimes our brain tends to run away from us. So if you close your eyes and you picture something there, could be Thomas's dirty fish. For every breath that you take, focus on a different part of the picture. And if I focus on the mouth, and then I can focus on the fin, the dorsal fin, and then I can focus on the tail, And then it can focus on the scales. I mean, you just keep focusing something different to every single part of the fish. That's called visualization breathing.
You don't necessarily have to use a fish example.
You can use what I was using yours because I liked it.
Yeah.
But you can use whatever. There's this one meditation that's part of visualizing that somebody will picture a shape like a square, and for every breath they focus on one different angle of the square. So it could be any type of thing that you want to visualize. I just say if you're going to visualize, might as well visualize something that you like.
You can visualize a balloon, like whatever you want to do.
Whatever it is. So there's that visualization breathing. There's also the mindful breathing. This is to, again, we are aware of the breath because we're stopping the world and we're being present in the moment. So this is where we want to slow down our breathing and bring in more relaxation. So as you sit and you breathe, or stand and breathe, close your eyes if you can, and just focus on the breath. Focus in and out. Inhale, exhale. And as you inhale, just say in your mind, inhale. And as you exhale, say in your mind, exhale. It gets you to focus on the rhythm of the breath, which will help you to focus on the present moment.
And if you're in an environment in which there's kind of like ambient noises around there, this is especially helpful. Like, and one thing you can do is just kind of like before when we noted a negative thought, you can just note the noise that happened and then retract it back to just focusing on the breathing with the inhaling and the exhaling.
It is. I love doing this with ambient noises. You're right. It's great. We also have a third type that's called a mantra breathing, which is probably as popular as the mindful breathing and is common. As you breathe, you focus on a mantra. And a mantra is literally a word or a phrase that you repeat over and over. The higher self meditation that was not a couple of days ago, but it was the meditation right before Sierra's that she just posted, that we just put up on mindfulme.org last Monday. That was a mantra breathing, where you looked inward and you repeated a mantra, like I am worthy, I am good, I am something, some sort of phrase or saying that you focus on while you're breathing. So brain isn't wandering around and thinking about things that are happening tomorrow or thinking about that argument you had with your coworker yesterday. You're literally focusing on just the mantra, just what phrase it is that every time you breathe, you say the phrase. I am worthy, breath. I am good enough, breath. Whatever the mantra is that you choose, as long as it's worthy for you, you say it with each breath.
Can it be like a goal that you have in mind? Like a goal that you want to set your mind to? Like, I want to, I don't know, be fit or something like that. Like, if you put a goal on there.
Instead of saying, I think we want to make more of an affirmative. A mantra is a little bit more of an affirmative. So not I will be fit, but I am fit.
Oh, okay.
I am fit. I am good enough. I am successful in my career. Like whatever it is, it's more of an I am statement because that connects to the higher self.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So, and then of course we have just nostril breathing.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of coincides with what we, the exercise that we did earlier. Like especially like when you're done breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, you can just focus on breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Which is basically the kind of breathing that we do in our everyday life anyway.
It's true.
Because not many of us go around, walking around just going...
You sound like Darth Vader. Another Star Wars reference. The nostril breathing is like, especially if you're working out or you're doing yoga, that's the type of breathing you're doing. In through your nose, out through your nose. In through your nose, out through your nose.
Right. And in order to avoid cramps, I believe this is right, don't quote me on this. In order to avoid cramps, like especially if you're running or like on a treadmill or if you're just running outside or things like that, it's good to every now and then breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Because if we consistently just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, I've personally gotten like cramps like on my side because I guess that's like improper breathing for that particular exercise.
But it's also really cool about what you just said is through breathing, and in your case, breathing something different, you're checking in on your body. Mm-hmm. Right?
True.
You're checking in on your body and you realize that for you, a little in through the nose, out through the mouth prevents cramping.
Yep.
Checking in on your body. I think
Yep.
that's awesome. Which is the final one, is that belly breathing, where you're breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, and your stomach expands and your stomach contracts through every...
It's like Jabba the Hutt.
Right.
Princess Leia.
There you go. Actually, I kind of like that. So those are 5 different types of breathing that are really good for you. And, I think one of the things with Mindful Me is the cornerstone, besides just mindfulness information, and we've had several podcasts about it, and we have an entire day dedicated to it, is meditation, right?
Yep.
So why does meditation begin with breath, right? So if we're meditating, we have just gone over the most important part of that meditation over this podcast, which has been breathing. So we look at why meditation starts with a breath. It's, as we've said before, it stops the world. It does. It stops the world. So whatever's happening in your life, it stops with the breath. Life could be absolutely crazy, but if you stop and breathe, it slows everything down.
So I could have like missiles flying over my head and I can meditate and be fine.
You could have missiles flying overhead. You could stop. You could breathe a couple times, and then you could focus better on what to do about it.
Okay.
So instead of, it's that fight or flight, right? You have missiles going over your head. Your body goes in that fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
Like it goes to instant action. Like in caveman days when a saber-toothed tiger was chasing you. Your fight or flight comes in and your body starts to race. Blood's pumping more to get to your muscles so that you can run faster or whatever it is. But remember, the neat thing about fight or flight is at some point it stops and your body resets itself into relaxation mode.
Yep.
And the breathing automatically, you don't think about it, it automatically slows down. As soon as those missiles have stopped going, or as soon as you've stopped breathe and you stop the craziness and you come up with a plan, you get more calm.
Okay.
So today in everyday life, thank goodness we don't have missiles flying over our heads all the time. Thank goodness.
Thought we almost did in January.
Yes, but
Thank God.
so, and we don't have saber-toothed tigers that are chasing us every 5 seconds either. But we have something that's worse. We have something that is worse than a saber-toothed tiger and worse than a missile. And that's stress.
Our worst enemy.
Because life is full of it. Think from the time you wake up, your brain starts to think about what you need to do during that day for work or school. It doesn't focus on the present moment of just waking up and breathing and yourself.
Yep.
You focus on, I've got this paper if you're in school, I've got this report if you're at work, and you start going. Your shower becomes a thought process of, what am I going to do today and in what order?
As opposed to, oh, I'm in the shower. Let me get the shampoo. Let me wash my hair. Let me
enjoy my space.
Let me enjoy the nice water against my skin type of thing.
Let's enjoy that space.
Yeah.
So breathing is so more vital today than it was when we did have saber-toothed tigers, because it does stop the stress, even for just a moment, and let your body recover. So breath is something that we can focus on to calm the brain and to let things pass.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So, well, that's been a really cool topic, Thomas. I really like talking about the breath with you today.
That was fun. And who says we couldn't talk about breath for an entire episode?
I know. All those naysayers.
Literally nobody.
I know.
Anyways.
There's so much about the breath. We could have, weeks and weeks and weeks talking about the breath. But there's some things we want you guys to be aware of. Our next meditation is going to be on Monday, the 27th. And it is going to be none other than our awesome Thomas Shull will be doing that great meditation.
And then the next podcast that will be coming out a week
From today.
From today, yeah. It will be another episode of Need to Heed with Jake and Fernando. And that episode is going to be the beauty in everyday things. And then
I'm really excited about that.
That's going to be fun, yeah.
Right? Like, I'm really excited about the fact of being able to, because that's just such a great topic. Especially in this type of generation where there's so much that's online and so much to look at, that we don't necessarily tend to look at just the beauty that's all around us. I'm really excited for those two on that one.
It's going to be great. And we also will, every Sunday, we're going to post a weekly motivational message. So when you first go onto our website, that would be one of the first things you see, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
It's going to be in like a document type form, and it's going to look like a letter, and anybody can read it. And then our podcasts and meditations can be all found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and basically anywhere you can find podcasts. I think also Zencast as well as one
yes,
of them.
Zencast as well.
Please don't forget to like, subscribe, all our content. And then don't forget to sign up on our mailing list and follow us on all social media platforms, including TikTok. Oh boy.
Remember, that is mindful me. That's mindful with 2 L's and a space before the me. So please come and see our stuff. Send us emails. Look at all of our content. It's there for you. If you have a suggestion about a topic you'd like one of our series of podcasts to talk about, or a meditation topic you'd like us to work with, please let us know, or even a weekly message that you would like us to focus on as well. We appreciate you. We appreciate the time, and we appreciate everything there is about you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, this concludes our 3rd episode of mindWATCH, and we can't wait to see you guys again.
Yeah, mindWATCH with Dan
Namaste.
and Thomas. Namaste. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of mindWATCH with Daniel and Thomas. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to visit our website, mindfulme.org, for resources just like this. Also, follow us on social media at mindfulme Inc. We're now available on Google Podcasts, Zencast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and everywhere else you get podcasts. All you have to do is search Mindful Me. That's mindful spelled with 2 L's, space me. We can't wait to see you on there, and have a great rest of your day.